Okay, previously I started this topic Java throws keyword, and I we have seen what is the use of this three throws keyword. We have seen that this throw keyword we only used to declare an exception. What is the meaning of declaration of an exception? It means that this throws keyword will not throw an exception. We will only use this throws keyword with the method. For example, this is the method name and this is its return type. Then we can use this throws here. We will write throws keyword and then we will write the exception name of the class, our exception class. And this is the position to use this throws keyword. We cannot use this throws keyword within the method body. No. So, and this is called declaration. This is called declaration, and this is just only an alert or information for the compiler that in this method, an exception can occur or cannot. So that's why it is called the declaration. We have seen this slide in the previous lecture, so that's why I am moving forward. And we already saw these two examples there in the previous lecture. Uh, but anyhow, have a quick look over this source code. Have a quick look. What we can do is to we can make it a little bit bigger in size. Now here on this left hand side, this program is also throwing an exception, and this is throwing a checked exceptions. What is the structure of this program? Okay, this is the class test throw one. This is starting from here, ending here. And then, sorry, this is not the end. This is the end of this method. So this class test throw one is starting from here. We have this method M. And then we have the method N. And then we have the method P along with this sketch. Then we have the main method ending here. And this is the end of the class. Now, you know that when we will run this program, this main method will execute. And in this main method, we have test throws one obj is equal to new test throws one, which is an object for this class, test throw one. So with this object, I can access all the information, methods, and fields available in this class. So here we have the statement obj.p. So this is doing what? This is calling this p method, okay? So when it will be called, this is the starting and this is the ending of this p method. So this will execute and we have the try block inside it. Inside this method, we have the try block. So try is starting from here, ending here, okay? So then this bracket is the end of p method, okay? So now we have this try block, and in this try block, this we are calling something n. N is what? N is a method here. So when we are calling, we will go there. So this method will be executed. Okay, and here n, and here throws. We are writing this throws keyword here. This is the way to declare an exception. And after the name of the method, this is the return type, throws is the keyword, and this IO exception is the exception, which is checked exception. IO exception is an exception available under the exception class. You saw the diagram in the beginning of this lecture, and you know that there are many exception classes under it. That is the first diagram in the beginning. If I will go to that diagram, here you can see this is the IO exception. This is the IO exception. And it is, and these three, this one, that one, and that one, these three are checked exceptions. And these are the unchecked exceptions. Okay. So, okay, this method has this declaration, exception declaration, and this is just an alert or information that this method n, what is the meaning of this statement, throws IO exception? The meaning is that this method n can have exception in it. So this is the starting of the method and this is the end. And here, so when you will call this method, okay, it will be called. And here we have one statement and that is m, which is what? We are calling another method m here. Okay, then control will go to that one and here that m method will execute, and here we have the keyword again, throws IO exception. And here we don't have any exception. Okay. And then here throws IO exception. So this is again exception declaration. What is its meaning? It means that this method can also have exception in it. Can have or cannot. Okay. So then what? Okay, we will execute it. We will go into it inside this method. We will go inside. And here we have another statement, throw new IO exception and then with some message. This throw keyword is different from this throws. You know that this throws, normally this is only it, we use it for declaration, but this throw keyword actually throw, it will throw the exception. What exception? Here it is written. It will be IO exception. This new is because this is the class, this is the exception class. And this new keyword, basically we are creating an object for this IO exception class and then throwing that object. And that object is an exception. That object has the type, this class, which is an exception class. So that's why we can say it that this is an exception. But the message of this exception would be this, which you have passed here. So this device error within the double quotes, this is the message you have passed into that class. This class is already defined in Java. So this message will be updated in that class. So now, so this is checked exception. And this is our own message that we have passed for this exception. And now due to this keyword throw, this exception will be thrown here at this statement. When this exception will be thrown, this must be thrown in a try block. Try block is necessary. And if you have the try block, then catch block is also necessary, related, the matching catch block. Okay, here the exception will be thrown, but here we don't have any try block. Then what? We are also in the topic of exception propagation. Then what? Then we will go back to the previous call of this method. Exception is thrown. Exception is now in memory, but you have to handle that exception via the try catch block. So then what? So this is the method M. So then what? We will go back to the previous call of this method where we called it in the previous, here. We called it here. So this thrown exception will fall back to this previous call, which is this method N calling this method M. And here we don't have the try block. So this whole information along with this exception will go back to the previous call, which is this one. Here we are calling this AND method. And here when we are calling this AND method, here we have the try block. So now the need of try block is now fulfilled. So then this is the try block, and here the except, and you know that when exception occurred in a try block, then what is the next process? You have to come out of this try block, and okay, then we will come out of this try block, and then after that we will search for the try block and catch block. Sorry. And here we have the catch block. And this exception E is what? This exception is the parent exception class of all the exception classes. So this exception class is also the parent of this input output exception which was thrown here. So then what? If you have the parent exception, then that exception will be copied into this E object. This exception that we have thrown here, input output exception with this message device error. So that information will be copied into this E. And then what? Okay, then catch, and this is the body of the catch block. System.out.println exception handled. So this message will be printed because we have this system.out.println command which normally prints the string, whatever you will give it as an argument. So that will be printed, and then you can see the output here. Exception handle. Okay, now try and catch block are executed. And then what? Okay, that is executed, and we are in the P method P. And then we will come out. This is the end of the catch block, and this is the end of the P block. So we will come out of this P method P, and here we call this method P. So this is now this statement is executed. The whole round in the source code, this is the only one statement which is responsible to visit all these places. So now this statement is now finished, and the control will go to the next statement, and that is system.out.println normal flow, and that normal flow will be printed here, as you can see in the output. We have already discussed this example in the previous lecture, this one and that one. So now I am leaving this one because you can see in the previous lecture, but now you have the background, and I am moving here on this slide. From this slide, I have to actually start. Okay, I should have to. I want to make it a little bit bigger so that you will understand. Okay. Now we are in the same topic, but we have now some extra examples. These are the examples in which the exception is thrown, checked exception is thrown, and then you have the try and the catch block which is handling that exception. This example and that example is the same story. But here we have the different story. Sorry. Walaikum assalam. Here we have a different story. Here we are, for example, okay, this is the class and the name of the class is M. This is the starting, and then we have the method in it, and this is the exception declaration. This is the end of the method, and this is the end of this class M. So I can say this class M is up to this point. First, it is your duty to first read the program so that you can understand the structure of that program. And then we have the class test throw 3. So now another class starting from here, and then the main method. Main method is ending here. So this is the end of this second class. Now This method has this throws IO exception declaration. Declaration means that this method can have exception in its body. Okay. Then, okay, when we will run this program, this first the main method will be executed, and the main method can also have, you can also write this method declaration here. You can also use this. These are the examples of throws keyword, and throws keyword we used for method declaration. Main is also a method. So here we are writing after the main, this is the name for the main method, and these are the arguments we are passing into it, and after that we are writing throws IO exception, and this is a declaration. And this is, what is the meaning of this declaration? That this method can throw an exception, nothing else. It's only an information. It is only an alert for that method and also for the compiler that this method can throw an exception. Okay. We will go into it. And then we have the object for this class M. M, this is the name of the object, small m is equal to new M. Okay. This is what you know, that we have created this object M for this class M. With this object, we can access all the information available in this class M. Either those are methods, either those are fields, we can access them. And then we have M dot method. We are calling the method method, which is a member function, which is a, what are the other names? Data, which is a member function, or which is a function available in that class. So M dot method, M is the object of this M class. So we will go into that M. We will search for this method. This is available. And then throws IO exception. This is method declaration. This is exception declaration, nothing else. And this is an alert that this method can have this exception in its body. And what is body? From the starting bracket and the ending bracket, the code in it. And here we have the source code, and we have only one statement here, system.out.println, device operation performed. And it is just a string which is printed on the screen, nothing else. We don't have any exception which is being thrown here. You know that if there is an exception, that exception can occur in some statement, or we can throw any exception by ourselves by using this throw keyword. But here we are not throwing anything, we are just printing a message. So this message will be printed on the screen. Device operation performed. Okay, now this is the end of the method. And here we are calling the method. So execution of the method is completed. When it is completed, we will go back to that statement where we have called this method. So now this statement is now ended, and we will go to the next statement. And here we have system.out.println normal flow. So this will be, this normal flow message will also be printed on the screen now. And then this is the end of your class. So here in this program, we are doing what? We have two classes, M and test throw. And we are calling a method which has the exception declaration, but does not have any exception thrown in any statement of this method. So here we have only method declaration with this method, also with the main method, but this program is not throwing any exception. This program is simply have the statements of method declaration. Okay. Now move on to this right hand side. Here we have again the class M and another class test throw 4, which will go up to here. Sorry. And when you will run this program, then the main method will execute first. And here we again have the throws input output exception. This is what? This is only a declaration. And what is the meaning of declaration? That this method can have an exception or cannot. Nothing else. This is the only meaning. Okay, this will be executed. And first we are creating an object of this M class. And here we have this object M. And here M dot method, we are calling a method which is available in that M class. Okay, that is the method. The control will go there and it will execute this method. And here we have again the method exception declaration. And what is that exception? Input output exception, which is checked exception. Okay, this is just a declaration. It is not an exception which is throwing here. No, it is just an information that in this method, an exception can occur. We will go into this message, into this method. And here we have the statement next. And what is this statement saying? Throw. So you know that when you have this keyword throw, it means now you are throwing an exception. Manually, explicitly, or by yourself. Being a programmer, you are throwing exception. So throw, new IO exception and device error. So this exception with the name IO exception will be thrown, and this would be the message. And this would be the message of exception. What this statement actually means, I have explained it here when I was explaining this one. Allahu Akbar. So input output exception, and so this exception will be thrown. Okay, this exception will be thrown. And if it will be thrown, the next step, it will search for the try block, because the control has to come out of the try block. So, but here we don't have any try block. We are in a method. We are simply in a function. So then what? We will come out of this function. But this function is called where? This function is called here. So we will come out of this function. And this function or the method is called here. Okay, then we will search for the try block here. We don't have any try block around this statement. Try block is compulsory. If you don't have the try block, then you have the compilation error. Your program will terminate abnormally. Try block and its matching catch block to handle that exception is necessary, is compulsory. Keep it in your mind. I can give you a program to give me the output and that have the compilation error. And you are searching for the output. Okay. So here okay, this is the call. Okay, it was gone there, exception was thrown. Okay, we will come out of this method. Here it was called. Okay, then it will search for some try block here also. So try block is not available here. Then what? When you don't have the try block, then it means what? Now program will terminate abnormally. When your program will terminate abnormally, the control will go to the JVM, Java Virtual Machine, okay? Or you can say compiler. Your program will be terminated. From that statement, it will be terminated. The control will go to the JVM, and now JVM will display that exception message or whatever. What are the different statements? For example, this message, exception in thread main. exception in thread main method, okay? And what is that exception? Java.io exception. Java.io.io exception. So this message now, the whole message is displayed by JVM, not by your program. And this message device error, this was the message that you have passed here to this IO exception. So that is that message. And then the different line numbers which are responsible, line numbers of your program. For example, this one, maybe this is the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This line number 4. So at M is what? M is a class. This M is a class. And in M class, you have this method which is written here. And line number 4. And similarly, line number 10. So this line number. This is line number 10. This is the main method now, which is mentioned here, test throws dot main. So this whole message about that exception is now displayed by the JVM, not by your program. Not by your program. Even you have declared those exceptions here. Even the exception is thrown here, and here, due to absence of try and the catch block, you have your program is not executed normally or completed normally, and then it will come out and the JVM will display this message. Okay.
So this is the compile error. It's a compile error.
Yeah, you can say compilation error. Finally, you can say it because now your program is not executed properly. But saying it because here you are in a class of object-oriented programming. So being a programmer, it is not appropriate to say that it is a compilation error. Yes, it is a compilation error, but you have to say something specific. What is the actual reason? Being a programmer, you have to say that this is now the actual reason, that now we will come out of this program, control will come out of this program, the control will be taken by the JVM, and then JVM will display the reason of your program, why terminated. And what is that reason? This exception, what you have, actually you don't have that try catch block, but the JVM is displaying your exception along with your messages and the line numbers of your program which are responsible. So you have to focus on these line numbers. You will first look at line number 4 and maybe 10. And when you will see on line number 10, you will see that there is no try block here. Then you will identify, and then you will write try block and the catch block, and then you will correct your error. Okay, now this is difference between throws and throws. The difference between throw and throws. The information that we have studied already about this word throws and previously somewhere at throw. So this table is just repeating that information, nothing else. But it is theoretical that what is the difference of throw and the throws with respect to definition. So here the definition of throw and the throws. And the type of exception, what is the type of exception of throw and throws? So you have to read it by yourself, self-studied. Okay, it is written there. Just to, I can read and give you the understanding, but now you are almost at the end of this course. So you have to study these slides by yourself. This is because I want to start the next CO also. And what is the syntax of throws? You know that. We have seen in the previous slide that how we can use this throw keyword and how we can use this throws keyword. This is all these things we already have studied in the previous slides. And then we have some extra examples for throw and throws. So this is not something difficult. So we already have the knowledge of throws, and so all these slides. So we already have the knowledge what the keyword throw does and what the keyword throws does. So you have to see these examples also by yourself. This one, and then we have another slide about, this is a theoretical slide again, about the keyword final keyword. We used this final keyword with variables. For example, static final int max is equal to 2. So that final keyword you have used, that final keyword. Finally block you already used. This is finalize. Okay, you didn't use this one finally. And what is this one? Finalize is the method in Java which is used to perform cleanup processing. Just before object is garbage collected. So finally block is available when you have the try and catch blocks, and at the end you normally introduce this finally block. And in that finally block, you can write any important your code. Even you can close, you can write this cleanup code also in that finally block. But normally in Java, when you are not using try and catches, etc., and that is your normal program without try and catch blocks, then you can use this finalize block, because there you don't have the finally block here. So then you can use the finalize block with this keyword. And in that block, if you are handling some file in your program, then you can also close that file here in that finalize block. And if you have created some objects in your program, those objects will be automatically disconnected and closed due to existence of this finalize block that will be destroyed when your program will be finally ended. You know that objects will take memory. Similarly, when you are handling files, then your file handles also takes memory. If you are connecting with the database, then your connection with the database also takes memory. So in your normal program, you can use this finalize block at the end of your program, and then you can write your file handles, your database connections, and all other maybe some objects maybe. And then this finally block will do what? When your program will be ended after execution, it will close all file handles, it will close all database connections, and it will remove all the memory which is taken by your objects. It will remove that memory. It will remove the memory which was taken by those objects from the RAM. So that's why it is mentioned here that it is used to perform cleanup processing. If you will not remove, those things will take the memory and it will be available in your RAM as a garbage collection. That is called garbage collection. Anyhow, read it by yourself. Read it by yourself. And then these are the examples. We are using this final keyword. And similarly, finally block, and maybe some, and here we are using finalize. Okay. So read all these slides which are in red color with the word self-studies, and I am moving to this topic, which is the Java custom exception. This is also not in your course, but this was the course first I prepared for some class, for which I also have the theory and I also have the lab portion. So both are with me. So then I have the sufficient time in that course. So due to that reason, the content is not short. We have sufficient content. Anyhow, so you only have to read and understand only these one. Maybe you can leave them. It is up to you. It is not for your final exam, you can say, but I will keep it in my mind. Okay. But you have to read and understand. Okay. This is not something different. This is something you already have seen. When you will read them, you will understand them automatically. So now Java custom exception. We have already seen some example of Java custom exception somewhere. If there would be some other teacher, he can say that we have finished that topic also. But we have seen something about Java exception at some slide already. I know that maybe I can. We have to see it. Custom exception. Lord. Just looking at taking some time so that we can confirm. This one. This user defined exception. This example that we already have seen is the example of Java custom exception. Anyhow, now we are going to see that topic again, because this is an important topic if you are studying Java exceptions. You can use the predefined Java exceptions, but you can also define your own exceptions. So when you will define your own exception, that is called basically custom exceptions. When you will create your own exception, then this is called custom exception, okay? Or user defined exception. And now there is a question that why use custom exception? Because other exception, normally all the exceptions that you have seen normally have their own messages. At some points we can place our own messages, but for example, when you have the messages like that, I can just show you. For example, this one, java.lang arithmetic exception divide by 0. Now you have the understanding that what this message is saying. But still this message java.lang.arithmetic or maybe this one, this long one, these long messages are a little bit ambiguous, not easy to understand. So then what? We want to create our own messages for these errors for a better understanding, so that we or some other user so you can introduce your own exceptions, and if you will build some software, and when you have your own exception with your own messages, And if the user of your software will have some message, exception message, then being a programmer, you can just display those message with good understanding. If you will display the message like that as you are seeing on the screen, then that person who is not a programmer or a general user of that software will not understand what this whole thing is saying. A programmer can understand, but the common person cannot understand. So then this is the situation where a programmer wants to write its own exception class with its own messages. So that's why this is the benefit. You can write your own custom messages. And how you can create that custom exception? You can create any exception. You can create any custom exception as a child class, but you have to extend the parent class. And what is that parent class? Exception class. We know that in that diagram, exception class is the parent class. We can create a child class of that parent class, and in that child class we have our own methods, our own messages, and then we can go on like that. Allah. This is a simple note. This is a simple note. Where if you want to change the message in the exception class, in the parent class, by using the child class, then you have to give that message as an argument in the constructor. In the constructor. You will see. You will see. We will pass some message in the constructor of the child class. That message will go as an argument to the constructor of the parent class, and then that message will be updated. And this is the way you can write your own messages. And this is the syntax, how you can write the custom exceptions. For example, here we have a class. The name of the class is wrong file name exception. So this is the name of your class. You can give any name to this class here. And that class is now extends exception. This is the parent class. This is the extends exception. This exception is now the parent class, which is already available in Java. And this wrong file name exception is the class which you are going to create, as a custom exception class. As a custom exception. This is the name. You can give any name here, A, B, C, or M, or X, or whatever. This is your name. But this name, exception, is the name of the parent class, which is already available in Java. And here, this keyword extend, you know that we are performing inheritance. Extend keyword, when we use this keyword extend, it means that this is the parent class, and now this is the child class. Okay, starting and ending. And here in this class, we are writing first the constructor. Constructor is a method which has the same name as the name of the class. So wrong file name exception. This is the same name as the name of the class. So this is a constructor. And then here we have to pass some message into it. And that message would have the data type string. So we are explaining this point, okay? We are explaining this point. How we can update the exception message. This is what we are giving that idea. So we can introduce a constructor, and that constructor will take some argument as a string, and this is the body of the constructor. And in the body of that constructor, we are calling super, and that error message we are passing it into it. That string message, whatever it is, we are passing into it. So that super will do what? We know that this keyword we use to call the parent class. And here, through this super, we are calling the constructor of the parent class with this message. So we are passing this string from our class constructor to the constructor of the exception class. We will see now the examples. Okay, let's see the first example. And in this example, we have, I think, two classes. Let's see. First, see the structure of this program. First, we have a class. The name of the class is invalid age exception. Okay, this class is starting from here. Okay, this is that method and ending here. Ending here. And then we have another class, public class test custom exception. So it's going on. So this is the else. This method, starting bracket, if, and then else. This is the end of the. So that is now going on, and it will end here. This second class will end here. When we will run this program, what this program will do, it will find the main method and then it will execute that main method. Main method is available here. We will go into that main method, and here we have the try block first. This is the try block, and then the that is the catch block. And this statement is independent. So, okay, the main method will execute. We will go into that try block, and in that try block, we have only one statement. Validate. So we are calling some method. The name of the method is validate, and we are passing 13 into it. So this is an integer value which you have passed into that method as an argument. So validate. So it will search for the validate method in the same class because we don't have any object before it. If there would be some object of that, some other class, we will go into that class. We don't have any object before it. It is only a method name with value 13. So we will search this method within the same class. So this class is going on from here, and it is ending here. So we will search this method validate with value 13 in the same class. Okay, this is the validate method in the beginning. So this method is saying static void. So return type of this method is void, and this is a static method and has the type. So that 13 will be copied here into this age, which has the integer type, and this is also an integer. So that 13 will be copied into this age variable. Okay, this method also have the exception declaration. And what is the exception declaration? Throws invalid age exception. This invalid age exception. Now this name is a new name for you, because this is not a predefined exception class. This is not a exception class which is available in Java. This is an exception class which you are going to design, which you are going to write. And this is available here. So this is the exception class which we have written here. Okay, but leave it. So this is what? Throws invalid age exception. This is what? This is only an exception declaration. It is not throwing an exception, because it is declaration. If you want to see, you can see what is, okay, this invalid age exception is what? It is an exception class. You are creating a class invalid age exception, extends exception. This is the parent class of the Java. Parent exception class available in Java. And you are creating a child class, the name invalid age exception of that parent class. Starting, ending, and what it is, then we have a constructor of that class, invalid age exception. This is the name of same name. So this is now the constructor. And we have some str is a variable. And what is the data type of that variable? String, that we are passing into this constructor. And in that constructor, this is the end of that constructor. In that, we are calling super str. This is the same thing which I explained here. So super str. So this super will call the constructor of this exception class. And this str, whatever that string is, that will go to the constructor of that exception class. And whatever the message, exception message, this parent class will have, that will be updated with this str. That will be updated with this str message. Anyhow, so this is, I am just coming back here. So this is what? This is just a declaration. And declaration means that it will not throw any exception. It is just an alert. Okay. This is the starting of this validate method. We have the value of age, what? 13, which we have passed here. And now we are checking 13 less than 18. 13 less than 18? Yes, condition true. So this is the starting of that if block, and it is the end of that if block. 13 less than 18, condition true. Then we have this statement here. And this statement is doing what? Throw new invalid age exception. And then we are passing some string into it. Throw. Throw is a keyword which will throw the exception. You know that. This throw keyword is different from this throws. So throw is a keyword which will actually throw the exception. Throw new invalid age exception. What is this invalid age? What is this invalid age? So when you have, I told you, the meaning of this statement is that we are throwing this exception. The name of the exception is invalid age exception with this message. But actually what is happening here, when you have this keyword new and then the name of the class, then it means that you are creating an object. New invalid age exception, and then this is the argument that you are passing into it. So this invalid age exception is the constructor, of this class. Okay. So invalid age exception is the name of the class. And this is the name. And this new, so you are calling the constructor of this class, and then this message age is not valid to vote. This string message will be copied into this str. This str. In previous, this is basically an example of anonymous object also. If you remember the CO2, the chapter 2. And in that chapter, you have anonymous object somewhere in the slides. You can just go there and read that slide again, and then you will come here. Then you will understand what is happening here. Or when you normally create an object, on the left hand side, you normally write the name of the object with the class name. And on the right hand side, you normally write new class name. And within, so that is only the right hand side. That is only the right hand side. So throw new invalid age exception and this string as an argument. So you are calling the constructor of this class. And that message will be copied into this str, which is further you are calling super str. So you are further calling the constructor of the exception class and passing this str, which is this message, into that exception class. And that the default message of exception class will be updated with this message str now. Okay. So now, in short, this statement will throw this exception, invalid age exception, with this message. Okay, in short, the easy meaning for a common student is to understand this, statement. The easy meaning for a common student is this statement is doing what? It is throwing an exception. It is throwing the exception, and name of the exception is invalid age exception, and this is the message with this message. So here exception will be thrown. When exception will be thrown, the program will stop here and it will throw that exception. So we will come out of this validate method. This is a method basically. First we will come out of this if block and then we will come out this validate method. The steps that we have taken first to reach at this point, now those steps will be back in that order. So we called this method here. We will go to the previous step, and that previous step is we are calling this validate method here in this try block. So now your exception which was thrown here is now at this statement. And we are now in this try block. So then what? We will come out of this try block and we will search for its catch block. And here we have the catch block, and the name of the exception is what exception we have here in this try block due to this validate. What exception? Invalid age exception. So that invalid age exception is now matched with this catch block. And then what? Your exception along with the message that will be copied into this EX, which is an object of this class. Yes.
For example, the catch, we have invalid age exception, right? For example, now you play the exception because we don't have the.
Yeah, that will be accepted. If you will write exception, which is the parent class, that is also okay. But if you will write arithmetic exception here, then it is not okay. Then it is not matching. But if you will write exception, you know that this is the parent of all the exception classes. And here parent exception is also the parent of this invalid age exception. So that's okay. That will be accepted. So that will be copied into this EX. Okay, and then this catch block, what is next? System.out.println caught the exception. So this message will be printed on the screen. Okay, caught the exception here. These lines are not irrelevant, okay? This is actually the starting of the output. Caught the exception. Okay, this caught the exception. This will be printed on your screen. And after that, the next statement, what is the next statement? This one, system.out.println, exception occurred and EX. So this will be printed, exception occurred. What is in E? In E, we have this this message actually. Age is not valid to vote. So what exception occurred? Age is not valid to vote. This is the exception message. So whatever you have in EX, message is this one, age is not valid to vote. And the type of exception is what? Invalid age exception. This is our defined exception class that we have defined. So now we have defined our own exception class, and we have given our own message in this example. In this example, we have defined our own exception class, which is behaving as a child class of the exception class. And this class has, as the name of the, as we have a name of the class, so that name would behave as an exception name. And the message, this is how you can update the message of your exception, by calling the constructor of the child class first, and then the constructor of the parent class, and then by updating the string message into it. Anyhow, exception occurred. This is the name, invalid age exception. This is the name of our class now. And this age is not valid to vote. This is our message, which we have passed here. And then what? Okay, catch block is finished. The control will go to the next statement, system.out.println, rest of the code that will be printed here at the end of this output. Moving on. Now we have another example. And okay, custom exception with null message. Okay, let's see what is happening here. So here we have the class, but it is empty class ending here. And then we have another class starting from here and ending here, ending at this bracket. I can move it. Okay. So this is the first class, which is empty class. And then we have another class starting from here and ending here. So maybe, I don't know, but maybe we are going to see some example of this topic custom exception, in which the message of our exception is null. Okay. Let's see what is happening here, what is actually happening here. So when you will run this program, it will search for the main method. Main method is available there. And then, okay, it will execute that main method. First, we have this try block, and then the catch block, and then this statement, okay? And in the try block, this is the first statement which has to execute. And what is this statement? Throw new my custom exception. So throw, when you have the word throw, then it means you are throwing some exception. What is exception? What is that exception which you are throwing? The name of that exception is my custom exception. And then parenthesis. You are not passing any message into it. So now your message is null at this point, because you are not passing any argument into it. So my custom exception, throw. So this is basically an object. You are creating an object, anonymous object. Anyhow, so my custom exception, okay, you will go into that class. Class here. So this is the class actually. You have created a custom class here, custom exception class. The procedure is same. write the class, give any name to your class name, and extend exception. This is the parent class. And due to this extend, you know that now exception is the parent class, and this is your child class. And you don't have anything in this class. You don't have anything in this class. But here you are calling a constructor of that class. You know that when you don't have any constructor in your class, what will happen then? Will be constructed automatically by the compiler. If you don't have any constructor available in your class, then in your beginning lectures, maybe chapter 2, go there, and it is written there, when you don't have the constructor in your class, the compiler will create that constructor for you automatically when you will run your program. Default constructor without argument. Here you are calling the constructor of your class. You don't have any constructor, that constructor will be called. That constructor will not do anything. If you have the fields, it will only initialize your fields with the default values, nothing else. But we don't have any fields in this class, so nothing will happen. So nothing will be happened. But exception will be thrown. Exception will be thrown due to this throw keyword. And that exception, as that exception does not have anything in it, and even we are not passing some message into it, so now your message is also empty. And we don't have any constructor. So if you want to update the message, then you can have the constructor like in your previous example. You can have here, you can have the constructor, then you can pass some string into it. That would be updated. That would be your message. But here we don't have anything here. Okay, now message is null. But we are calling the constructor of that exception class. Okay, that will be automatically done by the compiler. That constructor will be called. But we don't have any message. So this exception will be thrown, but we don't have any message for this exception. Okay, but this will be thrown. When it will be thrown, we will come out of this try block. We will search for the catch block. Catch is there. What is the type of this exception? My exception, my custom exception. And here the type is same, my custom exception. Here the type is same. So this is the exception which you have thrown here, and here it is the same name. So now it is matched. Whatever it is thrown here, it will be copied here into this EX. So here the exception will be thrown. We will come out of this try block, and the catch, that exception will be matched here. That exception, whatever it has, the information or message, it will be copied into this EX, and then we will come into this catch block. First, we will execute this statement, system.out.println, cart the exception. So this will be printed on your screen first. It is simply a message which you are seeing here. These lines are not important, leave them. Caught the exception. Okay, that will be printed on your screen. And then system.out.println EX, this EX, dot get message. Whatever the message in your this object is, get it, and it will be printed using this statement. So what is that message? That message is null. That message, when you throw this custom exception, you have not passed any message here. And also this my custom exception class which you have defined does not have any constructor which is accepting some message that will be updated in the parent class. No anything here. So the message is null. So ex.get message, the message is null, which you are seeing here, null. And then what? Okay, catch block is finished. Then we will come here to the next statement. Rest of the code will be printed. Okay, printed. It will be printed here. So here in this program, we are throwing a custom exception, but our custom exception, which is a class that we have created, does not have any constructor with any argument. And when, so which means that we are not passing any message into it, and our message is null. So this is an example of a custom exception with null message. With custom exception with null message. Okay, so this is, I think, the end of this CO. So this is the self studies that you have to do. Okay.
So the exam is CO4